Yo,
What up, though?
Top of the morning to you.
back at it.
Feels good. And we all match.
50 Shades of Blue, man. We got it going on.
Got it. I'm doing 9 out of 10, man. Just school again. Stop doing class projects in online class. So 9 out of 10.
The collaboration, not a fan of it?
I'm not a fan of online collaboration. I'm a fan of in person, but not that online business. I feel like it's a pen pal or something, man.
Oh man, let's see. I'm wow. I'm 6, boy.
I knew he was about to say that.
I was blown before I came, bro. But I'm here, man.
About what, bro? About what?
I gotta give y'all some context first off. That means blow fuse, bro. Anyways, let's just say the Bible says, be quick to listen and slow to anger, bro. I had a discussion before I came. I wasn't quick to listen, and I was fast to anger, man. So, Lord's give me some grace right now because your boy needed it, man. I was fuming, bro. So, but I'm at a 6 after talking to my guys. I might have been a 0 before I came here today.
Oh, wow.
Huge.
Bro.
Hey, but I was gonna ask if there's something out of that experience that you were able to learn.
Yeah, like sometimes it's just not like we're arguing, bro. Like,
Yeah.
especially if it's like little things. And I think, a lot of times you try to like argue, like to hear your voice instead of just looking at in a moment, like what's actually going on. Like we're arguing over something that's so stupid and petty.
Yeah.
And so, I just had to realize like, there's just better ways to approach, having conversations with people. And sometimes it's not worth, going low. And sometimes you don't have to feed into what other people say. So,
Amen.
yeah, bro.
How you doing?
Me, I'm gonna have to go 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
Okay.
School is probably the only thing that's holding me back. Took an exam and didn't do so hot, but it's about how you respond. So
Bounce back.
Got the GPA, bro.
it's about how you respond. So yeah, but everything else outside of that is good. So yeah.
Shoot, we just dropping the grades each week, bro. We was at a B last week. We might be at a C, bro. C plus, B minus. Lord have mercy, bro. Shoot, bro. I think by the time this episode drop, this gonna be a special week for some special people, man. I think that big day is in the middle of the week called Valentine's Day, man. So, why not talk about relationships now that this is the season of the year, the season of time where people start to, show their love and express their love for their significant others, and we can talk about some of our experiences and what we've dealt with. I kind of want to start with what have you guys learned from your previous relationships, that you can be encouraging or supportive in a way that the audience can hear that is upcoming week with Valentine's Day.
First off, when he said it's a big day, I thought he was talking about the Super Bowl. And I was like, hey,
I said by the time they see this episode.
Yeah.
So,
So you talking about the Super Bowl, we talking about Valentine's Day. It's called single. It's a, okay. Well, I'm gonna get the point. What did I learn? It's funny because personally, I always say that I've learned what not to do. So I think like people, because I've experienced a bunch of relationships that haven't worked out, and although it is key to learn how to be married by people that are married, it's also kind of key to ask someone who's been divorced, how do you not get there? You know what I'm saying? I think people always focus on how do I get here, but I think it's important on how do I not get here. And so I've learned a long list of what not to do based off lots of experiences. But something that I learned of my past one is to not find my acceptance in that person. That changed my life because I learned, kind of dating someone who I really should have never been entangled with. But what I was able to learn after that, in a period of being single and all that, is why was I even inside of that? And what I learned of, I was inside of that because they accepted me and I didn't accept me. And so that was my most, that's the thing that I've learned very fast and the hard way too. Heartbreak, man.
Boy, I agree. I mean, there's some things that you talked about, people want to get here, but, you got to learn like how to not get there. And I think I've been there a lot of times, unintentionally, but in my story, in my relationships, a lot of it stemmed from, again, like you, trying to find acceptance in the other person, the validation. But all of that came from I would say one soul heartbreak. I mean, like one time, bro, man, I got my heart broke. It was shot, bro. I was cooked, bro. Down for the count, man. But, man, basically after the heartbreak, bro, I tried to go out, and it was like the beginning of my village and origin arc, man. I tried to go out and get revenge, and so I ended up getting in another relationship. I didn't take the time to heal. I was trying to like fill this void, but trying to really just like show the other person that, hey, like, yeah, I can be happy. Knowing the whole time I wasn't happy. I was just trying to show the other person that, you know, look at me, look at me. And so what ended up happening was, because I was so hurt and I didn't take the time to heal, I ended up getting to that relationship. I didn't process that trauma that I had in the summer, and I ended up hurting another person, and then another person, and I didn't intentionally plan on like, oh, I want to hurt all these people. It was just like, it just happened because I never dealt with that hurt and that trauma from my past. And so, you know, my recommendation to you is, if you in that season right now where you thinking about relationships, you thinking about somebody in the future, maybe you got your eye on somebody right now, think about what's happened in the past. Are you fully over that right now? Have you taken the time to process and heal that information? Because if not, you might be going down a rabbit hole that you might not want to jump down, man.
Hurt people.
Yeah, facts. I think me, speaking specifically on just relationships, but specifically today, coming up this week, Valentine's Day, I think my past relationships, granted they weren't centered around Christ, but also I think a big pitfall was just comparison, you know, and I think Valentine's Day brings a lot of comparison. A lot of people are seeing, oh, well, this is what he got his girl, or this is what she got her man, you know, stuff like that. And I think that can be a pitfall to a lot of relationships, and that can like sever the ties between, you know, two good people, you know. And I think we just have to make sure like we're not falling into comparison and like actually living in like, or, you know, just in cherishing the gifts that God has given us, you know. So if it's a gift that God has given you, that person, like cherish that person, you know, because God's never gonna give you somebody that's completed, you know, that's everybody that you want. God's not gonna give you somebody that's 100%. Like they have their flaws, they have their infirmities. The same with us. Like we all got our flaws and we got our infirmities, but it's about how do we look past that and how do I love you through that? And it's like also, we might love people just because of their infirmities, you know what I'm saying? So it's about not comparing. Like everybody wants like the picture perfect relationship, and they always want to, and then they're given a platform to show it on Valentine's Day just to compare it to other people. I think it's like, man, like let's just cherish what we got, the blessings that we have, you know?
I was also processing based off that thought of comparison too, is how a lot of people are searching for someone because they know Valentine's Day is coming up. You know, I've been in times in the past years where it's like, oh, Valentine's Day is coming up. So I'm searching all of January, certainly that second half, looking for who can I start getting something on with, and then I can have a Valentine that I can have someone I can show off. And it's that same comparison thing too. I'm wanting someone because I know that he's gonna have someone, and then I know that I've got to get a girl that is better than his girl. It's comparison, man. And though ends up happening too is I get the wrong person because I'm so focused on getting a person. I don't care who that person is. I'm just focused up on the looks. So I thought, well, how are the pictures going to turn out? It's like, man, we're all going for that aesthetic. Come on, man.
You're chasing that aesthetic, you're always going to end up in the wrong position. Like,
facts.
I think also another way that you can look at the comparison is maybe somebody's been in a relationship before and they're like, oh, it looks like I'm about to be single for this Valentine's Day, and you start looking at old photos, and now you start thinking about the past, and now you're trying to hurt and get somebody real quick so you can have somebody for that Valentine's Day, just so you don't feel lonely and stuff. And that's another way that the comparison hurts, because now you're comparing yourself to your old self and what you used to have, and now you're trying to get that what you used to have right back in your life, and you end up in a position again where you lost that thing and losing this next person that you have, when you really, hey man, if you have an opportunity to be single on Valentine's Day, and that's a gift, bro. Like you can have an opportunity to spend time with people that you love, man, and you know, and encourage that and express that in that sense. But if you're trying to go compare in the past, like, man, I remember this Valentine's Day we did this and we did that and you took these pictures and I ain't got nobody to do with this shit. Like, that does not mean let me go find somebody real quick to take these pictures with. Like, because obviously that aesthetic is going to be flawed. Now that person, that relationship that you get into is not going to be sustainable because you're, you know, something that's a false image. So you can have negative comparison in multiple ways, man. You just got to be aware of what you're doing, bro.
Yeah, bro. And I love the fact that you spoke on like looking in the past, because looking in the past keeps us stagnant, you know, especially looking at our past self. And it's like, you know, a lot of people can't like receive the new things that God is doing in their life because they're so stuck on the past. And I think it's like, you know, God can bring different places, different things, or different people into your life. But if you're constantly looking at the past, how are you going to be able to perceive those things? And that's what it talks about in Isaiah 43, you know, like, see, I am doing a new thing. But how can you see that God is doing a new thing in your life if you're constantly looking towards the past? So it's like, man, making sure like you're just not comparing. And I've been talking a lot about this week just to some friends and stuff like that. Is just like, singleness is a gift, bro. It is a gift. And like you said on an earlier episode, it's like, you know, singleness is like time. Once it's gone, you ain't getting it back. You know, so you got to make sure like you're really cherishing that thing. Like, take this time to really like grow with and lock in with the Lord and really focus on you and understand who you are and how you operate within your friendship. So maybe you can see a kind of a preface of like, how do you operate in relationships, you know, in general. So it's like, man, make sure you're just learning more about yourself and learning more about who God is, you know, and actually have a strong relationship with God so you can have a good relationship with people.
Something about a comparison that I've learned, maybe this is just for me, but I feel like, again, me and maybe others, I compare because I'm really kind of insecure. You know what I'm saying? Why am I comparing a girl that I could have to his girls? Because I don't feel good enough about me that I've got to compare, and then if I'm better than him, I feel better about me. And so I think a lot of different times, both inside of comparison and trying to get someone, you're really doing that because how you see you is very skewed. And when that's skewed, everything off of that skewed. I think of a car with its tires. If one's skewed, if this bar is skewed, the car can't drive right, bro. It's like, bro, you gotta get even, get good, see you right, then helps someone else, you know?
You know, and up on a similar thread, you know, I think it's important to learn from the past. We both alluded to it earlier. You just talked about, you know, not looking back at the past, but I think some things that can be helpful by looking at the past of what not to do when we get into something in the future, if that ultimately ends up coming, because we talked about looking for that validation in that person and doing that in the past, and look where that got us. Nowhere quickly, man. So moving forward is like, I learned from the past to try not to find validation in women and the people that I was, you know, dealing with. So now moving forward, I gotta find my validation from God and be content with that and not try and search for that in the next person, because all that is gonna do is place the pressure and expectations that I have for God on them. And they ain't God, they ain't perfect. So they're always gonna fall short. They're always gonna have that unfailing version of their form of love because they aren't somebody who has unfailing love, which is God, man. So if we look back from the past, we gotta make sure that we're learning from our mistakes, learning from our shortcomings, and then using that, you know, with a grain of salt when we enter new relationships so that we aren't projecting our flaws into new things that God has given us.
True, bro, that's real. And I think that was like one of my biggest struggles in the past is always trying to be validated, you know, by girls, bro. Validated by people. And it was always like, man, like I could have been in a relationship with somebody, but it was like, shoot, I still need that girl validation, like to make sure like, yo, like, is this girl like bad? Like, am I like doing my thing, or do I still look like this? Would you still want to pursue me, you know? But it's as I got to know God, I got to understand that my validation doesn't come from them. It comes from Him only, you know? And it took me time for me to learn that. I had to be by myself to learn that, you know? And I had to lock in with the Lord to know that. And like, you're talking about, you know, just learning more about yourself. Like, that's what the Word does. The Word is like a mirror. Like, it shows us the true us, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, you got to make sure that you're spending that time in your Word and spending that time with God so you can know the true things, because I would have never known that I you know, want my validation in women until I got to know who God was, until I started reading God's Word.
Bro, you hit a key point there. I was in Psalm 62 this entire week. It was speaking about how God's our rock, God's our fortress. I think a lot of people, including me up in the past, had made someone else, and for me, a girl, my rock, my fortress, someone to, you know, could go to each time. And I think that for me, I think for everybody else, made a skewed thing, and I couldn't drive a straight. But it took, it's so big. It took being alone to learn that. You know what I'm saying? I think of all things that I ever learned about me was about being alone. I never learned these things being together with someone. But I feel like as we're alone, it gives us a time. Again, he said again, singleness, it's a gift. So as we are alone, it gives us a time to reflect, to learn about ourselves, to get better. Sorry.
No, you're good. I think so many times we put the pressure on like not having somebody and trying to depend and create something that's maybe, you know, fraudulent, so that we can be comfortable in the time being. But what that does is it takes away from the lens of looking at what alone or singleness does for us. Like, God actually calls for us to go in a secret place where it's just him and I, where we can dwell in this mist and learn from him. Like, you get to learn a lot when you're by yourself, man, because guess what? It's just you and your thoughts, man. You get to process, a lot of times, like when you go to bed, man, you're looking up at the ceiling, you recalling the entire day, what happened there and what happened there, and maybe I could have did this better talking to this person, or maybe I could have did, this assignment better. Like, at the end of the day, when you're alone, you have more time to process information. But if you're always constantly, familiarizing or figuring yourself around people they're speaking into your life, man, you never had the opportunity to process these thoughts. And now these thoughts are starting to get like skewed from other people because they're telling you should be doing this or you should be doing that. When God's like, hold on, I need you to come into the secret place, man. You prioritizing them more than you prioritizing your time with me. And now you doing that, man. You putting this on this pedestal. You aren't getting filled by me, and now you're going out with an empty cup because all you're trying to get is your source from somebody who's not the source.
I think something that we have to stop doing, including myself, is stop putting faith in things that God never promised. And I think a lot of us sometimes just have our faith in God because of a relationship that we want in the future, And it's just like, God doesn't promise everybody a relationship. That's the thing. And I think a lot of people are just like, man, God, I'm believing in you just because I want this marriage in the future. But God promises you salvation for eternal life. He doesn't promise you a marriage. And I see like stuff on social media, they're like, man, what if the rapture just comes and I'm not married with kids? It's like, bro, are you really like, is that really how you going, bro? But it's just like, dog, like, is God not enough? We have to make sure that God is enough in our life. Can you be content when it's just you and God? And I think that's a question that we all have to ask ourselves, not even regarding just relationships, but materialistic things too. We have to ask ourselves, can I be content when it's just me and God alone? But that's like, man, like you said, when we're alone with God, that's when you learn the most, not only about yourself, but also more about God and what he does promise. You can put faith in what he does promise for your life. Like, he promises us so much more than just a relationship, And then we always say that, that comparison is the thief of joy. Yep. And we always we put our faith in that, that relationship in the future, which steals our joy. Cause man, God, I'm not getting it yet. I'm not getting it yet. It's like, dude, God already promised you eternal life. So why not take that?
God is enough. I think that's something that we have to marinate on. God is actually enough, and he's more than we can ever think of, man. And sometimes we try and place people in these positions where we think they're enough, and the truth of the matter is they're not. I had a friend say the other day, she was like, I don't need no man but God. And that was just, a real statement because maybe what she's going through and dealing with certain guys. But the truth of the matter is, we don't need nobody but God. At the end of the day, man, we don't have to place our faith in people, but place our faith in him because he's the one who's going to sustain us. He's going to get us through the tough times. Yeah, God gives us great people to lean on in times of need and times of tough times. But at the end of the day, we can't lean on them more than we lean on him.
Thanks.
I had the opportunity to ask myself 2 questions. I had done a bunch of positive things, I had money and girls and cars and all those things, and all fell and all was terrible, and I was alone and very sad. So I was able to ask myself 2 things, and it was, am I okay not having those things and having God? And the second thing I was able to ask is, why am I not okay not having those things? What am I missing not having those things? What I learned was I was having my identity in those things. I was having my identity in the girls I was around, up in the stuff I had, and how successful of a business that I had. And so because I was finding my identity in that, and those things fell and were gone, now I felt like I didn't have any identity at all. But if you're finding your identity in Christ, which is how I find it now, Christ is always there. He's always helping me. He's my rock. He's my salvation now. And so now I know who I am and whose I am. It took for me having all of it and it all being gone to figure out my true identity, and now my identity for the rest of my life. And I can have that identity being single, being married.
I think just hitting on an earlier point, just with singleness, I think I had to flip my perspective on singleness and on waiting, because I think I used to be like, man, I'm enduring this waiting, and to where it's just like, man, God, I'm just walking in what you got for me. And if I get a relationship down the line, that's just a plus, And so it's like, man, we have to stop, trying to just endure, but actually delight in that waiting season. Because it's like, man, what if you hop in a relationship prematurely and you don't have the fruit? You don't have the fruit that can uphold that relationship, So it's like, man, take this time, because that time can also be producing fruit in you and also fruit in that other person, you know? But the main thing is where you getting that fruit from, and it's from God, you know? And you have to spend that time with God alone, bro.
You know, that's so good because I think we can all be honest up here and say like, yeah, we talking about singleness and how much of a gift it is, but I know we all had those thoughts like, man, I wish I was with somebody right now, man. Like, oh man, like I see this picture, like it happens. Like we're natural humans who actually need connection, and you know, in those times it's important to lean on God because some of that stuff is like deception. Like, oh man, I had an influx of seeing a bunch of social media people in relationships, and so now I'm feeling more inclined to go talk to somebody. I'm feeling more inclined to go hang out with somebody. And we know that might not be the best thing depending on your maturity level and the things that you want to do, man. So it's important, like in those times where you're being deceived by what you see, to go lean on God, man, because he's going to make the picture clear for you. Like, you know, Paul says, like, I wish all of you guys can be like me, like which is single, man. But I know Paul has some days like, whoa, boy, man, that girl, boy, right there is true. I need it in my life, man. But that's all of us. Like our flesh has desires, and you know it says in Galatians 5:16, like walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. The key word is desires. Like it's saying, like your flesh is gonna have some desires, man, but you can't gratify them if you're walking by the Spirit.
And you hit the point I was gonna say for the Christians out there, like what Paul said. Paul said it's a gift of being single. So I'm thinking here, you know, why did he say it was a gift being single, or it is a gift being single? It's because, man, there's that growth in there. There's so many opportunities in that. And so again, I think a lot of us, and he said too, a lot of us think that it's only a gift being in a relationship. But I think that the very opposite is true. It's a gift being single because of the things that can happen there. I was also thinking of what he said on perspective, man. Where's our perspective? You know what I'm saying? Because your perspective steers the spot you're headed.
Bro, that's real. And I think just that, being single, like hitting on just 1 Corinthians 7 with Paul, bro, he's like, man, like, he said an unmarried person is worried about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord, but a married man is worried about the world's affairs, how he can please his spouse. So it's like, man, like, what are you focused on while you're single? You know what I'm saying? While you're in that waiting room, what are you focused on? Are you focusing on, you know, waiting in a relationship? Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Instead of sitting back and knowing who God is. Like Psalms 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. So if you know who God is and how he's provided for you in the past, why can't he provide for you in the future? But still, you have to take that time. You got to let God cook. You got to let him do what he does. Like God doesn't work on a microwave status. God works on the stove, the oven. You know what I'm saying? Like it takes time. It takes time. Like you think about grandma's cooking, bro. She let that thing marinate overnight, bro. Marinate overnight for the good food. Like, nah, you ain't coming in there and get some microwave foods. Nah, you getting the stuff that marinated overnight. So that's the same thing. You got to let God take his time with his process, and also let him take time with you as well.
So in that process of being refined, like it's gonna take time. We have to be, you know, aware of that, because a lot of times we want to rush. We want the microwavable, you know, relationship, something that is instantly gratifies us now, but that's not sustainable in the long run. Because at the end of the day, man, all of us get tired of microwavable foods. We want grandma's cooking in the long run, man. But if I'm constantly looking at these microwavable cup noodles, instant ramen, man, I'm gonna be, you know, unfulfilled sooner or later, man. And so I would say this, because if you are someone who's, you know, anticipating getting in a relationship, who wants and desires to have a marriage, you know, the Bible tells us to do not be, you know, unequally yoked. So we always talk about, oh, like I don't want to go be somebody who's unequally yoked with me, right? But don't be the person who's unequally yoked to the person who's already yoked. Right? Like you got to be that person. You got to be the person who's working on your character, and it takes the time to be refined to know how to be being yoked or be equally yoked with that person. Because a lot of times you say, hey, I don't want to be unequally yoked, but you're the person who's unequally yoked, right? Yes. That other person's straight. You got to get that refining process. You got to allow God to prune you and shape you in his character so that you can be more of a better steward for that relationship in the long run.
Bro, that's so good. And you can even think about the illustration of a yoke, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, you see the person you try to get a relationship to, they may be an ox, but you may be a horse. Man, if you holding this person back, bro, that's on you, bro. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure, if you an ox, I got to be with an ox. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a horse, I got to be with a horse. So it's like, man, make sure you ain't holding people back either, dog, because of your loneliness, because of that fleeting feeling is causing you to make premature decisions. Like, let God do what he gonna do, bro. Please, bro. Don't be holding people back out here, dog.
Thing think hitting off his point of anticipation, I think a lot of us, including me in past times, have been so anticipated for a relationship that happened with the wrong person because we were looking for a relationship, you know what I'm saying? And all the best ones that I know that I've been able to speak to people about are times where they were focused on other stuff. For a Christian, they were focused on God, but for other people who aren't Christian, they were focused on work or something else, then it happened to happen, you know what I'm saying? But if we're forcing it, come on, man. And so I think if we just let things happen, it's all good. But if you're anticipating it and wanting it, searching for it, man, it ain't gonna work out.
Bro, that's real. And I heard a quote, and my boy was like, he said, whatever is good won't come easy. Yeah. Whatever is easy won't be good. You know what I'm saying? So bro, let the relationship take its time, bro. Like, just focus on God, man. Find God, bro, first. Or you trying to find a relationship or find a spouse, bro, please.
But if I'm understanding you correctly, like, there's a level of intention behind that. Like, we have to be intentional with the things that we're doing in that process, because, you know, a lot of times some people have the intentions that are bad. They don't want to be somebody that's honoring God in their relationship. So if you're trying to get into a relationship, make sure that your intention is to get closer to God. You know, God tells us to guard each other's hearts. But if my intention is not to guard your heart, don't expect your heart to be guarded, bro. I'm gonna be doing the things that I want to do to gratify my flesh, and that might not be good for you. So always have a clear understanding and awareness of what your intention is, and have a clear understanding of what their intention is, because if they might not tell us to your face, but their actions might show it, man. And we know actions speak louder than words. They might be trying to do something to get you away from God, when the whole idea is to get you closer to God. And if it's not something that's honoring God, then therefore it's not gonna be something that's from God.
For sure. And I think, man, like, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And that's the same thing regarding relationships. If you don't stand on God's word, if you don't stand on being equally yoked later down the line, you will fall for somebody that's unequally yoked just because of your desires. Like you said, the flesh has those desires. So you just be like, man, my flesh just got desires. So let me go hit up this person and see what they doing, you know? So it's like, make sure you're standing on God's word and standing on his principles, because he doesn't want to see you settle at the end of the day. And I think that's something that I was falling into earlier, was like, man, like, I'm over here settling. I have a settling issue when God has so much more for me down the line.
I wanted to hit again up on his point of, you know, a lot of people say I'm not trying to be unequally yoked, but man, they gotta be yoked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You gotta be getting your character better, your spiritual life up, because again, so many people, including me, are saying, "Oh, I can't date her because she's not a Christian." Man, I was barely Christian myself.
What?
You know what I'm saying?
It took me getting my heart broken to become a Christian, bro.
For real.
That was the gateway for me getting in, man.
Oh,
and
thanks.
I think even in that period where I wasn't a Christian, like, all I was trying to do was find fulfillment in different girls, and ultimately it got me nowhere. Like, it took me losing everything to have that humbling moment where God was like, I need you, right? Because clearly this has not fulfilled me, man. And, you know, that woman at the well, man, you know, she was caught in adultery. Like, let's just be real. Yeah. She was caught in adultery. She was looking for fulfillment in all these different guys and did not find it until she got in a conversation with Jesus, who offered her the fulfillment of the living water. So it's important, like, when we're navigating through life, you know, learning from our past situations, not searching for fulfillment in the people that we desire to be with, but looking for fulfillment in the person who desires to be with us, which is God. I think that's going to be key for everybody who wants to be in a relationship. Your first relationship should be with God, because if you try and get a relationship without him, bro, it may not go the way that you wanted to go in the long run, man. We see a lot of people that have hurt relationships, you know, things, trauma that they're dealing with in the past, and they just projecting it on a bunch of people like, oh, you know, well, I'm doing this because, you know, Ray did this to me. Well, it's like, well, I ain't Ray, so why are you doing it to me, man? But if Ray knew God, maybe he sees I still be with Ray, bro. So we leave it at that.
Nah, don't bleed on people who ain't cut you, though.
Nah, for real, bro.
But I wanted to hit also on the lady who's at the well for two reasons. One is, you know, God was able to, so that lady wasn't there looking for water, right? That's why people go to wells, at least that's what people did back then, and now it got up in the tab. But anyways, and so God was offering her living water, because all the water that she had her thirsty after each time, which is how all those guys had her too, thirsty after each time, because they never really filled her up, but God filled her up. The second point I wanted to make is, after her encounter with God, her whole life changed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? She went back to her town, and people came and saw him because of that. So it's like, man, after you have an encounter with God, I think of a car. If I'm going 60 and I encounter a different car, my car is going to look like it encountered a different car, because I was going 60. And so if I have encountered God, it's going to look different after that encounter. But so many people apparently have cars going 60, they encounter something and they're still in perfect shape. It's like, man, after you encounter God, your whole life's gonna change. I can speak from personal experience and thousands of people, man. And so after you encounter God, you are gonna have that living water and it will satisfy you. You will never be thirsty in that sense ever again.
Bro, that's so good. And I just like how you said, like, bro, like Jesus met her where she was, most importantly, bro. And I think also too is like after she had that encounter with Jesus, she went out and told everybody. Now these people have an encounter with Jesus. So it's like you don't know what God can do through you as well to impact other people, to inspire other people to come to Christ, you know? So it's like, make sure like, man, go have that encounter with Jesus and don't be scared. Don't try to get in the shower clean. Like Jesus will literally meet you where you're at. When I got my heart broke, Jesus met me where I was at, but I had to be vulnerable with him I had to tell him like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm looking like right now. I'm terrible right now, but I need your help. Like you're my last resort, you know? And he met me where I was at. And now he's put me in a space to where I can inspire others to help to start them on their walk of Christ, you know? So it's like, you don't know what God could do through you. You just have to meet him. You just have to go to him where you are and let him meet you where you're at.
That's so real because I've had these thoughts often like, God is really using me to do the things that he's calling me to do. Like that is so beautiful because man, I was a guy, man, who was cheating on all these girls, who was breaking hearts. Like I was that guy, bro. I was doing all this nonsense and foolishness, a lot of stuff that brought me shame. But what God showed me is like, I don't have to be defined by my shame. And he was actually willing to meet me where I was so that I can see him for who he was. The guy who's the guy with grace, the guy that's full of mercy and who wants to actually be in a relationship with me. And you know, me being in a relationship with all those girls, it just brought me a bunch of shame because of the actions that I had, man. But God was like, man, your actions don't define you. Like I define you. Here's what I say about you. And you don't actually have to live this lifestyle that got you nowhere, but you can live this lifestyle with me and I have a whole pathway for you where you can enter the things that I have for you. And now, man, we got a platform where we're talking to people about our stories and what God has done in our life. And just like that woman at the well, man, shoot, I'm caught in adultery, bro. If you want to talk about adultery, bro. But God was like, I got you, bro, but tell your people about me, bro. Tell your people about me because they got to hear about the good news, how they're not defined by their shame. They're not defined by their actions, but they're defined by what I say about them. If they come to me, I can embrace them and show them what I have for them.
Literally. And this is like, and your testimony is a testament for other people. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing. Paul said, of sinners, I am worse than them all. But so people are looking at Paul like, well, shoot, if you can be a Christian, I can be a Christian too. So it's like, there's nothing that, you know, that we haven't done that it's like God can't fix, you know?
Boy.
It's nothing that we've done that God can't fix. So it's like, man, just come there where you are. Cause he met me where I was at when I was also caught in adultery. I was caught in addiction, caught in a whole bunch of things. And God met me where I was at. He didn't take me because of my past. He took me because who he wanted me to be in the future, bro.
Y'all hit on such a key point. God can use you. And what I always say is God can use you if you let him, bro. He wants to use you. I think of so many people that have impacted me, man, have been people who the world probably isn't so fond of, you know what I'm saying? I think of this lady who's at the well with 5-year-old husband. She was kind of a very scandalous person. She had encountered God. She goes and tells other people come and find God too. It's just this thing of God can use you if you let him, and he wants to. You know, people would say, I wish you could see you in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Meaning I see you a different way. And that's been huge for me because there have been people who see me a lot better than I've ever seen me. I've got shortcomings, I had problems on top of top. You know what I'm saying? But I wonder if we saw ourselves how God sees us.
Boy, I was having,
You know what I'm saying?
I had that thought the other day.
Look at it.
Literally, because I was talking to this guy and we were talking with the passage of like Matthew 6 or Matthew 7, where it talks about not judging others. And a lot of times like we're judging other people because of our own insecurities, right? But I think like Jesus really said that, man, because like we're all broken, but he still meets people with compassion, love, and grace. So I was like, if God can look at people with compassion, love, and grace, then so should we. So if we're looking at each other in the way that God looks at us, man, look how the world would be, man. Because now I look at you through a lens of love. I look at you through a lens of love. And together we can go and help love people in the way that he's called us to do. But if we have a lens that's shattered and broken because of our experience or maybe because of what we feel like we are in our eyes and we're not looking through God's lens, now our view is going to be tainted. It's going to be skewed because we're going to be confined to what we see. But if we see the lens of God in our eyes, man, it opens a whole new ballgame. Like, how do I see myself? How do I see myself in the way that God sees me? How do I see you in the way that God sees you? You treat everybody differently at that point, man. So it's important, like, man, you got to read the word to know how God sees you.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you ain't gonna know how He sees you. Yeah. But if you don't, a lot of people, I mean, honestly, if you want to be real, a lot of people say God says this and God says that, but they ain't know how God actually sees them in the Bible because they don't read the Bible. Exactly. So if you pick up the word, you're gonna know that He says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You're gonna know that He loves you more than anything in this planet. But you gotta read the word because it tells you exactly what He sees about you and what He thinks about you and how He feels about you, bro.
Bro, I was thinking on this idea of love, right?
Yeah.
If He loved us enough to die on the cross for us, one, how are we going to show love to ourselves? And two, how are we going to love other people?
Yeah.
Because I'm over here talking bad about you. Man, you're someone who God died for. So who am I to say, oh, he's stupid. Oh, he this and he that. Bro, what? Pause. This is someone who God died for. Why am I trying? Let me say, God, you done died for the wrong person. How disrespectful is that to God?
Yeah, bro.
Nah, man, God died for him on purpose. God died for me on purpose. And so if we have that perspective, it'd be a game changer. God, He died for the right people, man.
Yeah, facts. And I love that too, bro, because like God was like, Jesus was literally thinking of all of us individually while He was on that cross, man. And there's so much power in that because God knows the number of hairs on our head. That's how He knows us. That's how intentional He wants a relationship with us, bro. And I think, you think of a parent, man, a parent's just like, man, I just want a relationship with my child. That's the same thing that God is doing. Like, it's not that complicated as, people make it. It's just like God just wants a relationship with us. He wants to hear from us constantly, whether we're mad at Him, whether we're upset with Him, like all that. He wants to hear about it all. He just wants to have that relationship. If you're upset with your dad, if you're upset with your mom, whatever, you're going to tell them like, hey, like I'm upset with you. But if you don't tell them, that relationship doesn't get mended, So it's like, make sure you're telling God, like, this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on.
The crazy part about that is that we're all like desire and crave for relationships and we end up chasing the wrong things and we get in positions that we were never meant to be getting to. But if we just turned around and looked at the one that was chasing us, boy, where would we be at, bro? He's the one in full pursuit, full head of steam coming after us, boom, 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 like this, ready to meet us where we are. But so in times we're like running away from Him. We're looking at other things and other people and you can't see that He's chasing after us. But if we just turned around, you can see that He has His arms wide open saying that, man, I love you so much. I just want to spend time with you, bro. Like, I don't care that you run away from me for X amount of years. I want to be with you right now for the rest of your life. And here's what I have for you. Like, I have this unfailing love and you may have experienced broken love from this person. This person may have done this to you, but here's what I can do for you. If you just look at the epitome love, the one who is actually love, God Himself.
He leaves the 99 to get the one, man. Literally.
I just so humbling because I'm chasing after girls. I was chasing after girls like this. Well, the whole time God was chasing after me. And all the things had to go down for me to turn around. See, God was chasing me. Man, it's on Patreon. It's on Patreon, bro.
And it's $9.99. And it's crazy, bro. Not even that God was only chasing you. He was chasing the girls you was chasing too. I was talking to you, literally. So I answered why. I thought they was running. They turned around. I wasn't there with one guy. Everybody want a relationship except the relationship with God.
Man. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's a true relationship, man. Because I think you have that relationship. It shows you how to have other relationships.
Yes.
Bro. You don't have that relationship. Now your view on relationships is skewed. You don't think like what you have or what you think a relationship is good in your eyes. But truth of the matter is, it's not that good, bro. But if you look at the relationship that He clearly defines and illustrates, man, your view on relationship changes, bro, because now I treat you different. Mm-hmm. I treat you different based off of the way that He treats me. It's just all rooted in love, man. So you got to look at what love is to know how to actually love other people, bro. And love is found in the Bible. It's going to tell you what it is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is slow to speak, bro.
Literally. And that's why it says, do not lean on your own understanding. Do not lean on your own understanding of what you think love is. Lean on what God says about love. God is love. So make sure you're leaning on the real definition, bro. A lot of us are like, man, well, this is what love is on a worldly standpoint. But God is like, I am love. What you talking about?
Oh, let Him cook, boy. Man, He is love, boy.
Facts.
We thinking on Wednesday what we want love to be. You got to turn around, man. Open it up. He gonna tell you what love is, bro.
What you doing on Valentine's Day? I'm reading my word.
Read my
That's what
word.
I'm doing.
I'm with God, bro.
With the real love.
I'm with God right now. You want me to talk to him for you? Literally.
God calling you, bro. He said pick up. You left a few missed calls, bro. Check your voicemail, bro. He knocking, bro.
He a gentleman, dude. He definitely a gentleman. Good talk. Man, bro. Solid episode,
Too
bro.
tough, man.
I ain't good. That was long, bro.
Bro, that was fantastic.
That was beautiful.
$9.99 on Patreon.
Hope that bless y'all, bro.
Man.
I gotta share this conversation.
Yeah,
Please.
bro, for sure.
Give us some love by doing that, bro.
Drop a like, drop a comment, man. You already know.
Share with a friend.
Man, boy.
Oh, share the combo.
Bro, just follow my face.
Appreciate y'all.
Y'all,
man.
Jim, bro.
Peace.
Deuce.